All right, you guys, happy Monday. As you know, the Super Bowl was last night. And look, this is what the kids are terming goy slop. What that means is that you were supposed to pick a side. Pick a side. Whose side are you on? Were you team Bad Bunny? If so, you're supposed to come out and away hating the racist right. Maybe you were team Turning Point USA. Did you oblige and turn off your television sets, open your laptops, and watch the alternative halftime performance, which the word on the street is if you did not enjoy it, if you did not enjoy every moment of it, then it's because you don't love Jesus. Of course, every single time. That's the new Turning Point talking point. So welcome back to Candace. Okay, so you guys can actually check the records on this one. I am not, nor have I ever been, a conservative stereotype when it comes to the Super Bowl halftime performance. I feel like it's a bit of a fad now. On the right, you watch the Super Bowl for the sole purpose of complaining about the halftime performance and why it didn't live up to what you think that it should be. I notoriously defended Rihanna back in 2023 when she was literally just wearing red. And conservatives made it seem like she was trying to channel the devil. She was actually pregnant and wasn't even moving around that much. I'm also a Shakira stan, so I thought her and J-Lo had a fun halftime performance. I'm not really one of these people who are naturally averse to culture. I also like and listen to Spanish music, as you guys know. Mark Anthony, that's why I had to come out for my boy. When they were saying stuff about him and what he did at a wedding after 11 p.m. No, he should not be responsible for that as a Latino man. I like the old school stuff, Aventura, the old Mark Anthony music. Hasta ayer. I grew up listening to all of it. So when Bad Bunny was announced for the Super Bowl, I was like, okay, let's see what he does. I do not know one Bad Bunny song. I'm going to be honest. I've been very clear with you guys, I am not cool or hip anymore, just like I don't know any of Sabrina Carpenter's music. I'm not trying to stay up with the culture, but I know enough to know that he's very popular, okay? Now, the pros of his performance, I'm going to say something good about it. I actually thought the set design was really cool. It was one of the cooler ones that I've seen in a very long time. I loved that it looked like a little pueblo, a little Spanish town, that the mercado, the bodega. And to be clear, I think it felt obviously very authentic to him and how he grew up, but not just to him and how he grew up, but also in America. If you guys don't know that, this is how a lot, that looks familiar to me and the way that I grew up. Like, you know, the corner bodega, it's a real thing. And I thought very obviously that that's what he was trying to convey is his own experience, because that's what artists do. And by the way, like I said, all around the United States, these communities exist. The performers and the dancers did a very great job. You could tell that they rehearsed a lot. They were not just winging it. And I actually quite enjoyed the little electrical line thing that they were doing. I thought it was clever and it was fun. Now, the downside is that it was not in English. It was not in English. And therefore, the audience could not emotionally connect. If you were not a Spanish speaker, you could not emotionally connect to that performance. It was really all in Spanish, save for Lady Gaga's portion when she was sort of doing the bad salsa, which was very American. You know, she wasn't exactly hips don't lie. And I was like, okay, now, is that Bad Bunny's fault? Obviously not, because he was booked. And he is very clear. English is his second language. If you watch his interviews, he kind of speaks Spanglish. He's learning more English now. His music is exclusively in Spanish. So the expectation, who are you actually upset with for booking this performance? I agree that it would be nice to have an English-speaking halftime. That makes sense because everyone actually in America should speak English. But he didn't book himself, okay? Actually, I looked into it. The person that controls who gets to perform at the halftime is Jay-Z for some reason. Jay-Z in partnership with the NFL. Jay-Z doesn't speak Spanish, but Jay-Z booked him. And for a very long time, it's been clear that Jay-Z's got some sort of a relationship with the feds. I tend to believe a lot of the stuff that Kanye said. And so, like I said, this feels a bit like, let's get both sides warring with one another. Now, in terms of whether or not this was a successful performance, well, we'll just look at the raw numbers here. Nielsen estimates that 128 million people watched the Super Bowl game last night, forgetting the halftime performance. That number increased to 135 million viewers during the halftime performance. So people got up and were like, I don't want to watch I'm not watching the whole Super Bowl match, but I'm going to go ahead and tune in to the halftime performance because people are always outraged the next morning and I want to know what they're speaking about. So 7 million more people began tuning in to watch the halftime performance, according to the early reports. So Bad Bunny, objectively, whether you like him or not, he had a successful Super Bowl halftime performance in terms of the metrics. This means that the, I would say, unnecessary Super Bowl political lines that were drawn by Turning Point USA was not successful in terms of drawing people away from the NFL's viewership. Now, in case you missed it, when Bad Bunny was announced, there was immediately backlash because he has worn a dress, something that I'm very against because to me, it is obvious why they find these men and they put them in dresses. This gets into theology regarding which he's probably not aware of. If I'm being honest, if I sat down with Bad Bunny and I spoke to him about where this comes from and why they are putting him in a dress to emasculate him, he's not recognizing this as somebody else's faith. It is. I find it to be wrong. It is in essence Kabbalistic and satanic. We've discussed that. But this is the reason that people were immediately outraged. So everyone was saying, oh, it's very obvious what he's going to do. He's going to make the show unnecessarily gay. And because of that, Turning Point USA announced that they would produce an alternative, quote unquote, all-American Super Bowl halftime show. And President Trump tweeted. They had very people all across the political sphere on the Republican side were tweeting about, hey, turn your TV off. No, nobody turned their TV off. We can say no one did that. Actually, the numbers jumped. Okay, but this was their reason that they went into this. Now, Bad Bunny did not, in fact, wear a dress at the Super Bowl. He didn't. Which, like I said, I'm very against that. I don't think we should be intentionally emasculating men. So that leaves us with Turning Point USA's performance. Now, we should be clear it was a pre-record. Okay, so Bad Bunny was performing live. Turning Point USA pre-recorded, I think, a couple of weeks ago. And so they had time to edit and to present this. Now, I'm going to park aside the artists who actually performed. Kid Rock, Lee Brice. I actually want to be clear. I love Lee Brice's music. I went to a Lee Brice concert here in town. So this is not meant to be a commentary on them, but rather at the audacity of what Turning Point USA did as an organization. Turning Point USA is effectively now running Kamala Harris's presidential campaign, okay? No Democrat voted for Kamala Harris, voted for Biden, and then they just said, here, now you get Kamala, and we're running her against Donald Trump. But Democrats had to accept that because the DNC machine just had so much money, and they're like, we're just going to make her a thing. That's it. And they ignored the true metrics and just said, this is it. And then they acted aghast and shocked when Kamala Harris did not win. Turning Point USA now has so much money that they believe that similarly they can afford to outright purchase reality. They want you to believe, this is unbelievable, I'm going to walk you through how absurd this is, that when they aired this halftime performance, 6 million concurrent viewers tuned in. Just so you understand what that means. 6 million people at the same time were watching this around the world. That's what concurrent viewership means. So they decided to tune in to this Super Bowl halftime performance. And I want you to listen to that straight from Andrew Colvette's mouth. Let's bring that clip in, Don, if you can.
Andrew, I watched your show. It was great. How did you do? Do you have a sense of how many people watched?
Yeah, it was kind of blew our minds actually a little bit, Brian. And we saw at one point across all the different social channels, we saw over 10 million concurrent views. So that was adding up all of Rumble and all of our partners just on the social side. So, and now the numbers keep trickling in. I mean, right now as I'm sitting here, YouTube's numbers keep updating. And so we're trying to put it all together. What I can safely say is that we are now over 20 million viewers across just social. So we haven't even gotten our partner broadcasters, their analytics. As you know, sometimes the ratings take a little while, but that's 20 million viewers. And we don't know how many people were gathered together, 3, 4, 10 in a room watching together. So we're going to try and put a final number on that when we can. what we can safely say is over 20 million Americans tuned in to the All-American halftime show tonight.
That's what he can safely say. Now, for people who have been on YouTube, YouTubers, so to speak, like myself, for more than 10 years, I was just in awe that they were going to try to sell this, that they were going to do what he did with his face and just lie and pretend that 6 million, I think he even at one point said 10 million, but he says 6 million concurrent viewers they had on YouTube alone, okay? If you know YouTube at all, that's just not true on its face. It's actually, I laughed when I saw, I was like, this is actually crazy. I can't believe they're actually going to try to pull this off. And I'm going to walk you through this so you don't even have to have my background on YouTube to understand why this number is impossible. First and foremost, you can just do this test. What do we have? Right now, we have 95,000 people that are watching this show. As soon as this show concludes, I want you to see how many views YouTube is going to instantly give it right away. It's probably going to be something like 200,000 to 300,000 views right away as it continues to tabulate. This is a screenshot of their viewership after 6 million people tuned in concurrently at the exact same time. So that was 6 million people watching, like we have 95,000 people watching right now on YouTube. As soon as they finished, look at that 5,839 views with 175 comments. That is an impossible metric. But 667,000 likes. This is made up. But again, like I said, maybe you're not familiar with how YouTube works, so allow me to present it to you another way so you can really drill into your head how despicable this organization has become and just no association with the truth. So I'm going to present to you now the official list of the top YouTube streams based off of concurrent viewership. We're going to go through this list so that you fully appreciate what you are being asked to believe. Everything is a rich man's trick. That's what's happening right now. This is the highest live concurrent viewers on YouTube. These were the events. Number one was in India. That is a nation of 1.5 billion people. They had a moon mission and 8 million people in India tuned into it. That is believable, okay? Turning Point wants you to believe that they're number 2 now, okay? The next 2 through 20 are all proper football, meaning soccer in America, events. You can see it's the World Cup, it is the biggest sport in the world. And when people streamed it, it looks like the 2022 World Cup comes into the second spot, Brazil versus Croatia. When it was streamed on YouTube, 6.1 million people tuned in. Again, this is the biggest sport in the world, soccer. They're trying to tell us that football, which only has a hold in America, this is a sport literally for America, and then Turning Point USA comes and they divide the fans by saying, we're doing just a conservative halftime sport, so they even halved their potential to appeal to half of the football, people that are watching football. And then on top of that, the people who are divided because they just don't like what Turning Point USA has become since Charlie was assassinated, and that their loose association, their loose relationship with the truth since Charlie was assassinated. They want you to believe that in spite of all of that, they are now, they're number 2. They broke the record. So bye-bye football around the world. It's now Turning Point USA. 6 million people turned in live to watch their Kid Rock and Lee Bryce. And there was a couple of other artists that were involved, pre-recorded performance. Okay. Now, my understanding in looking at this is that this is it. They're going to force Erica on us. Like I said, this is the Kamala thing. There's absolutely nothing we can do about it. We just got our hands up. We are literally victims here. They have the money, they have the power, and we're going to shut up and we're going to take it. And we're going to have to accept this audacious polling. It's going to be Andrew Qlobal up on Fox News. Like, it's amazing. She is more popular than Cristiano Ronaldo. The internet loves it. YouTube loves her, and we're amazed that we pulled this thing off. That's the vibe. Okay? We no longer live in a meritocracy. And Turning Point USA are effectively the righteous gemstones now. If you don't like Erica, then it's because you don't like Jesus. If you don't like what Turning Point's become, it's because you do not like Jesus. This is our new purchased reality. And I want to really drive this point home to you. I can't even think of how many times I could underscore how absurd what they presented here is. And as a YouTuber, this offends me. people who actually put in hard work, try to produce a show. You should be offended by this, okay? I would guess that the most authentically watched event for Turning Point USA's YouTube page happened right after Charlie Kirk got assassinated. Remember, Erica first addressed the nation, and she did this in Charlie's studio. Everyone was rooting for her in this moment, waiting to see what she was going to say as the widow. If you go online right now, her address as a widow to the nation has 4.1 million views on Charlie Kirk's YouTube channel. It also has 36,000 comments, okay? So 4 million views, 36,000 comments. If you know YouTube, that's right. They didn't fake that. That's real. I want you to compare that to the Turning Point halftime show, which just like Biden's vote in 2020, when we slept, a bunch of more views came in on YouTube. People were like, I love it even more in the middle of the night. That now has over 20 million views. And yet, only 46,000 comments. It's impossible. It's literally made up. Like I said, you know that the Erica address is an authentic representation of views because of the views to comments ratio. I'll give you an example. My last episode, The Letter to Erica on YouTube, that got 3.1 million views. It has 28,000 comments. So almost too close for a 20 million view video. Now, why does this actually matter? Why am I spending time speaking to you about this? Because it is such a perfect analogy for what this organization has become. Wealthy, corrupt, and dishonest. Just to our faces. It is, to me, so reminiscent of everything Tucker said when he got onto stage at SAS, when the Jewish donors got angry, when he questioned exactly where this money is coming from, how these people are becoming billionaires. People that are not impressive, that are not smart, are suddenly, we just learned that they're billionaires. Money is being thrown at them. And there are people who are smarter than them, who work harder than them. And he is essentially saying, we no longer live in a meritocracy. This is just a fiction, a total fiction. And I also want to stress here that what upsets me about it is it's exactly everything that Charlie Kirk hated. When we were hitting the ground, we were talking about the need for free markets. This is not an example of the free markets. This is an example of crony capitalism. It's crony capitalism. You're going to take it. This is what we're bigger than Cristiano Ronaldo. We don't know why. It's just, you had Alex Clark shamelessly tweeting, everyone said we were over, but look at this. 100 million views. It's just fiction. So fiction that even Tyler Boyer, who happens to be a sexual deviant and also a committed homosexual part-time, is tweeting this out from Bad Bunny's performance. He actually tweeted this. Why is Turning Point USA, he wrote, why Turning Point USA ended up with one of the largest YouTube concurrent live streams in history tonight. And he shows something that he probably likes, if I'm guessing, this moment of two men dancing on each other. And of all people to tweet this, it's Tyler Boyer. It is Tyler Boyer. Everything is fake. A lot of it is gay. These, again, are the righteous gemstones. And we are looking at, to me, fake Christianity. It's like Christianity Inc. Which brings us back to Fort Huachuca, by the way. Something big for you. You will recall that Mitch Snow, the man who had to deal with the full brunt of Andrew and Erica's PR machine, they were digging up his past, claiming that he was a habitual liar. Mitch was certain. He was certain, and I want to be clear, he also hasn't moved his story since, not 1 inch. He was certain that he saw Erica Kirk on the evening of the 8th at Fort Huachuca leaving a hotel with a Cabot Phillips lookalike. He has not adapted that story, despite the undue harassment that he received. In particular, after seeing Erica on the evening of the 8th, he claims that he stumbled upon what appeared to him to be the conclusion of a military briefing right before a mission taking place in a borrowed building site for the Joint Task Force, the Southern Border Unit. And he was a border unit, and he was surprised. He saw a guy wearing the JTF thing. I think he said it was JTF 10, the 10th Mountain Brigade. He's like, oh, where are you guys? I thought this was like disbanded. I used to be on this same task force, Southern Border. And they're like, no, actually, we're in this building. And you should know that that Joint Task Force initially was formed in Tucson, Arizona. Well, here is a rather explosive lead. And I'm going to say this is a lead. I'm going to cage this. It's a possibility that this does not pan out. But I'm putting this out here because I'd like a confirmation one way or the other. Last week, we introduced you guys to Tracy Martin. Remember, Tracy Martin is Erica's best friend for over 15 years. How close are Erica and Tracy? They've done everything together. Tracy says from Romanian Angels. Erica modeled for her clothing brands. All of it. These two and their families are close. She's also close to Lori, and she's close to Erica's stepfather's family, if pictures are telling us the right story. And I told you guys last week that I was having trouble learning anything about Tracy's husband, a man named Thomas Martin. It was unusual to me. He's got quite a build. He looks kind of military-esque to me, but they are also involved in fitness. They ran gyms. Well, we received this interesting tip, and I'm going to again stress that it is just a tip at this moment, but it's potentially explosive. There is a director of U.S. Border Patrol, also chief of staff of the Southern Command in Tucson, named Thomas Martin. He's been based in Tucson, Arizona since at least the 80s when he was just an agent down at the border. And he has steadily climbed up the ladder. But this particular Thomas Martin has gone through great lengths to completely wipe his public presence. I'm going to show you what's left of the LinkedIn link. You can actually click it. You can see it says Thomas Martin, Director, U.S. Border Patrol, experience, location, Greater Tucson area. Okay, we click that just is disappeared. Okay. Same, looking at Zoom info, we were again able to find this sort of relic. We found that he was Deputy Chief Patrol Agent at the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Homeland Security, for which we know Erica Kirk's mother also is involved, extensive contracts with the Department of Homeland Security. Says that he's been in Customs and Border Protection for 9 years. I'm assuming that's going to continue with the Department of Homeland Security. But again, we don't know because this has been wiped, okay? And so I started crawling through some newspapers, trying to find this person's face. Interestingly enough, we know, like I said, he's been stationed in Tucson, Arizona. That Thomas Martin on Border Patrol at least since 1985. We know this because he was actually mentioned in a lawsuit as a young agent, and the content of this lawsuit is impressive. This is an old newspaper article, again, from October 21st, 1985. It appeared in the Times-Union, and it says the sanctuary movement is on trial. It tells us the story of this guy who picked up a hitchhiker, and there a movement was born, and to begin smuggling humans across the border and hiding them into churches. I kid you not. I kid you not. It tells us that these pastors, as well as priests, were working together. Southside Presbyterian Church, 2 Roman Catholic priests, a nun, and 6 church lay workers were all going on trial in Tucson for concealing illegal aliens. And this nice mention that we get of Thomas Martin, we learn that Agent Thomas Martin of the Border Patrol was writing to his superiors. Essentially, the argument that he's making is we shouldn't invade these churches because then it's going to become a talking point that, oh, look at the big bad, ICE agents that are invading churches, and we shouldn't do that. So I'm going to direct quote because he testified, and he said, he wrote to his superiors, quote, "A ploy is going to be Border Patrol baiting in order to demonstrate to the public that the U.S. government thinks nothing of breaking down the doors of their churches to drag Jesus Christ out to be tortured and murdered." So he's saying if we do this, it's going to be, if I'm to understand this, it's going to be a talking point. So he's making the argument that we shouldn't do it, or it's going to be a talking point. Again, where is this Thomas Martin? And I want to be clear, because you guys send tips, this is not Thomas G. Martin. If you're doing a basic search and finding another Thomas Martin who works in Border Patrol up in Buffalo, New York, his name is Thomas G. Martin. That is not the same Thomas Martin that has been in Tucson. We've obviously already investigated the obvious lead there. Please do not send us any tips about Buffalo, New York, and the other Thomas Martin. But regarding this one, please do send us tips to more tips, at CandaceOwens.com, because we'd like to know. Maybe somebody worked with this Thomas Martin. Again, we know that he's been living in the Tucson area for decades, at least up until 2011. I can find a record of him working with the Southern Command, and that is interesting. Lastly, I've also received a solid tip, and this is shocking, that Tracy's daughter is actually Erica's assistant. I'll put an allegedly there because we've got to confirm that information. But the source knows these people. And remarkably, this is the shocking part, and this I don't have to put in allegedly because I have text messages from September 11th. Tracy told friends that her daughter, possibly Erica's assistant, was supposed to be at UVU on September 10th, but Tracy had a bad feeling about it. Wait, Erica's best friend had a bad feeling about what was going to happen on September 10th? Yep. And so she stopped her daughter, Erica's assistant, from going. Tracy had a divine intuition that her daughter should not go to UVU, but she didn't share that with Erica about maybe she should have said her husband shouldn't have gone to UVU. Maybe if you would share that, if it's your best friend, maybe did Erica talk to her alleged assistant about that? Hey, maybe we shouldn't go. My mom's saying I shouldn't go because she's a bad feeling something bad's going to happen. And then something bad does happen. And it's like, thank God Tracy didn't send her daughter because she had a bad intuition. But did she share that with Erica? Does that sound right to you guys? Is that tracking for you guys at all? Look, I don't know what's going on, but I know that it is not what they are telling us is going on. Okay, I'll leave it at that. And we will take a quick break and be back after some sponsors. All right, you guys, thanks to you, last year Preborn helped rescue over 80,000 babies, and today you can help save even more. Every single day, thousands of women hear the same devastating lie that abortion is their only option, that they're alone, and that there's actually no hope. But everything changes the moment a mother in crisis walks into a preborn network clinic and sees her baby on an ultrasound. That one moment doubles her chance of choosing life. It's not just an image on a screen, they realize, but it's hearing her baby's heartbeat, maybe for the very first time. In that moment, she realizes that there's life growing inside of her. And it's not a problem that needs to be solved. It's a life that needs to be protected. Let's be there for her in that beautiful moment with love, prayer, and support. For just $28, you can provide one life-saving ultrasound, and $140 provides 5 ultrasounds and 5 chances for life. This year, let's make it the biggest baby-saving year in history. Take a stand, be bold, speak for those who can't speak for themselves. To donate, dial #250 and say the keyword baby, or visit preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. Also want to tell you guys about Balance of Nature because let's be honest, getting all of your daily fruits and vegetables is not always easy. Life gets busy, meals get rushed, and nutrition falls through the cracks. That's where Balance of Nature comes in. Balance of Nature's whole health system supplements of fruit and veggies make it simple to get the nutrients that your body needs. Every single day, made from real whole fruits and vegetables, they deliver powerful phytonutrition in an easy-to-take capsule. Phytonutrients are natural compounds found in plants that help support your body at a cellular level. They are known to support energy, immune health, digestion, and overall wellness, helping your body to do what it's designed to do. So whether you've been on the fence for a long time or it's the first time that you're hearing about them, I recommend that you go to balanceofnature.com and order the whole health system supplement as a preferred customer today. That's balanceofnature.com. Okay, something that I want to mention to you that I had been quietly working on to confirm the date for, I'm just going to throw this in here on that same topic. I had mentioned to you guys a while ago that on June 19th, Erica purged her Instagram of a lot of pictures, 126 posts she deleted. And I had wondered what drove that. Why would you delete 126 posts off of your Instagram page? And when I did my master timeline, I realized that this was the time when things were really heating up with Israel and Iran. I had mentioned that to you in the past, and I had wondered to myself if she had moved to do that after Charlie beat Bibi Netanyahu in a debate and all of his Zionist thugs at the White House, and he had convinced Trump that he should have just a limited military, limited military operation in Iran, which ended up being Operation Midnight Hammer. Well, I can now confirm that the date that Charlie went into the White House and went up like toe-to-toe with Bibi Netanyahu and his thugs who wanted more action in Iran, and he won, was on June 18th. So to make that very clear, on June 18th, Charlie goes head-to-head with the Zionists and Bibi Netanyahu, who are trying to convince Trump that there needs to be more more action in Iran that America should get behind. Obviously, Charlie's in there showing like the base is going to hate this. Don't do that. That's a very bad idea. And Charlie wins. Tucker spoke about that. You can go find the clips of Tucker speaking about the fact that Charlie spoke up for America, really spoke up for Americans and said, don't do this. You know, you promised no wars. Keep this as a limited operation. That's June 18th. The very next day on June 19th, Erica purges her Instagram. She deletes 126 posts. I had wondered if that was the way it went, that Charlie pissed off Bibi and then Erica purged her Instagram. I don't know what to make of that, but I wanted to give you guys that data point, which is from our master timeline. Okay, switching gears here, not entirely. Something else that's on our master timeline is, of course, this Hamptons thing, which it was so strange. There were so many lies that came out of this. Also credit to Max Blumenthal, broke this story that Charlie had this, as we had described it, a very heated confrontation, and he was being pushed by Zionists about his shifting support for Israel. They all came out and gave these clean, buttoned-up statements saying that wasn't true. They described it as, it was just like, tossing some ideas to him. And Charlie said, well, it was just like a spirited debate, they said. And I said, no. Max Blumenthal said no as well. That's not what went down in the Hamptons. No, they were pressing Charlie. He was stressed out by it, and things got heated. He was being yelled at. They always disputed this narrative. Well, enter in this hero, Carrie Prejean Bowler, and she is Catholic. I'm going to state that because it's just Catholic ganging right now. This morning, there was a Religious Liberty Commission hearing on anti-Semitism, and Seth Dillon gets up there of the Babylon Bee. He was the chief. Him and Natasha were the chiefs of pressing Charlie in the Hamptons, okay? And Seth Dillon's just supposed to be the funny guy testifying from the Babylon Bee about the rise of anti-Semitism and what are we going to do? And Carrie took it as an opportunity, since he's under oath. When you testify, you're actually under oath, to ask him about a variety of topics. First and foremost, she presses him because he was also one of the chiefs of Christ is King is anti-Semitic. And she questions him on that perspective. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
On their social media platform, would you label that an anti-Semitic if you're looking into the context of what they're saying, or if they just say it, Christ is King? Like,
it could be.
Why
You
are we
have
analyzing
to
that?
look at the context. Yeah.
But I would say that's anti-Christian if you're analyzing why I'm saying Christ is King.
No, saying the phrase Jesus Christ is not taking the Lord's name in vain unless you're doing it in a certain context, right? There's context matters.
Yeah, so going back to Candace Owens, when she worked for Daily Wire, your friend Ben fired her because she said Christ is King.
And I never said that what she said was anti-Semitic.
Okay, but you're calling her an anti-Semite.
Oh, yes, because she said way worse than that.
Okay, let's move on, because everyone seems to be obsessed with Candace. My last question, why were you at the Hamptons?
Can just real quick?
Why were you at the Hamptons?
Do you think that anything Candace has said is anti-Semitic?
No, I don't.
Nothing, ever. That's interesting.
I mean, I listen to her daily.
You should look up more of her statements.
I haven't heard one thing out of her mouth that I would say is anti-Semitic.
It's just dripping off of him, like the evil, the dishonesty. He then goes on to say a bunch of things that I never, ever, ever said, of course, because they have to just make things up. And he's like, no, she now says outwardly what she thinks about Jews, and there's no separation between Zionists and Jews. Yes, there is. Half the time I'm attacking these Christian Zionists for the exact same reason, where they're trying to sell to us racial supremacy, which is really just Israeli supremacy, right? And telling us that if we don't worship Israel, it's problematic. And gratefully, she gets up and she calls him on that. She's like, what are you even speaking about? And so then, as you see, she's kind of setting the groundwork for, she decides to move to the topic of the Hamptons. And here is what Seth Dillon had to say.
The Hamptons meeting was a retreat called by Charlie. It was. I don't know if many of you are familiar with this. I'll give you a little context, but there was a claim that was made that an intervention was staged with Charlie, where people pulled him into a room in a very aggressive manner, pressured and blackmailed him because they felt like he was straying away from his support for Israel. That was the claim. The Hamptons retreat, and the Hamptons retreat was characterized that way. It was not like that. There were about 30 people there. handpicked and invited by Charlie personally. He brought us there. He stood at the front of the room with a microphone throughout the thing. The theme of it was Save the West. His primary focus was on the threat of Islam, the problem of Islam. There was heated and spirited debate about the issue of Israel in the room, but it was debate that Charlie himself initiated, and he wanted to hear different perspectives on it. And so we voiced a lot of our perspectives. One of the things that I disagreed with him on was he said that, you know, if you're not sufficiently supportive of Israel, it can be really ruinous for you in a position like his.
Yeah.
If you criticize Israel at all, they'll try to, denigrate you and destroy you and call you names, call you anti-Semitic, etc. And it can ruin you. And I said, yeah, certainly that's true, but it can also be very costly to stand up to those people. And I gave the example of my own experience where I criticized the critics of Israel, and they tried to destroy me. And so, we can all, whine and cry about the consequences of what might happen if we say certain things, but everybody has a right to give their opinion and say what they think. So there was back and forth like that, but there were many people that came out and made statements afterwards that it was completely mischaracterized, and that was really evil what she did. To lie about a situation like that and try to portray it as though the Jews were trying to blackmail Charlie. That resulted in death threats.
She never said that.
She absolutely said that.
No, she didn't.
She put my face on a movie poster for I Know What You Did Last Summer, suggesting that I had a role in his murder. Like I played a role in his murder. That's why someone tried to kill me and my family and got arrested in Texas.
I just love Zionists. No matter what, they can be a victim. She put my name on it. She put my face on a thumbnail of I Know What You Did Last Summer, an objectively hilarious thing that I did. Go me. That is fantastic. And he wants us to think that it almost led to his murder. They're just such criminals. They mass murder children overseas and defend it and explain it away. Zionists, that's actually what's happening. And then you put them on a little thumbnail poster, as in I Know What You Did Last Summer, because that's punny, okay? It is. And we're speaking about the Hamptons. And now he's like, I almost got killed. I almost died. It's so not okay. It's evil. No, what's evil is you lied. And now you're adjusting your story. Everybody go back and watch the clips of them discussing what happened in the Hamptons. And she is correct. I never said that he was blackmailed. Charlie described what happened in the Hamptons as he was being morally blackmailed. And by the way, you can find clips of Charlie speaking about how he felt that he was being morally blackmailed over his position on Israel. Those are Charlie's words, not mine. And he felt he was being morally blackmailed because of what Seth Dillon did. So first, Seth Dillon's perspective was it was just a nice, lovely, spirited debate. Now he's changing this and he admits that it got heated. Oh, where was that? Why couldn't acknowledge that it got heated before, Seth, when we were saying that that was true and that's what happened? And by the way, they never want to touch the fact, even when they all came out, these carefully orchestrated legal type statements to be like, oh, nothing happened in the Hamptons. No one even wanted to touch the fact that Bibi Netanyahu called, which I told you happened. Everything I said was true. It got heated. Charlie was being pressed. He was so stressed about what happened in the Hamptons that it spilled over into his conversation with Megyn Kelly. Kudos to Megyn for telling the truth about how he was feeling. Kudos to Tucker Carlson for telling the truth about how he was feeling. They were just, oh no, they told us Charlie never even flinched on Israel. Now he's saying it got heated. Well, why would it get heated? Was this a mock debate? As they tried to present it, like, it was, why would it get heated? If Charlie's position was not shifting, why would it get heated? Can somebody explain that to me? If he just got heated about how much he loved Israel in the room. He's like, I'm just so angry that people don't get how much I love it. I love it. And Seth was like, I know. Ah! And they got angry and heated because they both just loved Israel. That's what they wanted us to believe. It is obnoxious. They lie, but they feel nothing when they lie. Okay? Just like Josh Hammer, that is Seth Dillon. They all lied about what happened in the Hamptons. It was heated. Charlie was pressed. I said that factually because I had eyewitness reports of exactly what happened. And it is a fact. Bibi Netanyahu called. Erica says he didn't offer to take Turning Point to the next level. Okay, Erica. Andrew Colvett says that he did offer to take Turning Point to the next level. And now he wants to go back and not address that point again because everything I told you was true. Charlie said no to Bibi Netanyahu. He didn't even want Bibi Netanyahu on his radio show. He was so done with Israel. Anybody care to fact check that? Did Bibi Netanyahu reach out to go on Charlie's podcast when he was doing the podcast rounds in July or August, whenever it was? The answer is, I'm telling the truth. okay? I am telling the truth. And the only reason they are lying about this, in my view, is because you only lie when you have something to hide. And it feels like motive. It feels like motive. They're protecting Bibi and they're protecting this narrative because there's a motive. Otherwise, you just say, yeah, I got into an argument with him. Kind of sucked. I wish that wasn't the last time I saw him. If you were an honest person and you had nothing to hide, that's what you would say. I'd say, man, I really regret that those are my last words to him. Life is short. It was so stupid. I don't even really care about his opinion on Israel anymore, man. I just feel terrible. Nope. They all said, Candace is a liar. And now we're slowly getting the truth about what got heated, what they were discussing. Charlie feeling, as he even describes it, morally blackmailed, telling him that it's ruinous. If you say anything about Israel, it's suddenly ruinous to your career. And Seth was fired up. Not Josh Hammer, I will say. It wasn't Josh Hammer that got all fired up in that room. It was Seth. And Seth, you just look like a liar. I just want you to know that. You just like your whole presence there. If you guys go back and watch it, the way he's like stumbling over his word, he's just lying. He just is lying. And I like the nice little touch of the Babylon Bee, because now that we're getting into your true guiding theology, which is not Judaism, by the way, it makes perfect sense. You are not the funny guy at all. You are, in my view, completely unhinged, and you should feel remorse for what you put Charlie through in the end. You should have come online and had some sort of a conscience about telling the public lies about your last encounter with him. But of course you don't. That just kind of seems to be the entire Zionist narrative these days. You guys do to others and then constantly pretend you are the victims, including of a poster. Hey, Seth, I know what you did last summer, okay? We will be back after a brief break. All right, you guys, as a mother, I have learned that comfort does matter. After long days, scraped knees, busy schedules, and all of the emotions that life throws at us, sometimes what we really need is to just be cozy. And that's why I love the cuddle blanket from Cozy Earth. It's the kind of blanket that you reach for at the end of the day when the house finally quiets down, when you're curling up on the couch, or when someone you love just needs a little extra warmth. It's soft, it's cozy, and it feels like wrapping yourself in comfort. And with Valentine's Day season here, the cuddle blanket makes the perfect gift for your significant other, your kids, your best friend, or honestly for yourself, because love isn't always roses and chocolates. Sometimes love is showing up with warmth, care, and a place to rest. And here's the best part. You can try it completely risk-free. Cozy Earth offers a 100-day sleep trial, so you have plenty of time to fall in love with it. Plus, everything is backed by a 10-year warranty, which means that they are serious about quality and comfort. Share a little extra love this February and wrap yourself or someone that you care about in comfort that truly feels special. Head to CozyEarth.com and use my code Candace at checkout for up to 20% off. That's code Candace for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention that you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Celebrate everyday love with comfort that makes the little moments count. Also, remind you guys about American financing, because between groceries, travel, and higher prices, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially if you're already relying on credit cards to cover the basics. If that debt is piling up, you should know that you're not alone. If you're a homeowner, you may be considered reaching out to American financing, but maybe hesitated because you don't want to give up your low mortgage rate. Well, that's why American financing created the Smart Equity Loan, a simple, smart way to get your finances back on track without giving up your low mortgage rate. Unlike a HELOC, which can fluctuate with the market, the Smart Equity Loan offers a fixed rate, so you'll have one predictable monthly payment. It lets you use your home's equity to pay off high interest debt, free up your cash flow, and still keep your existing mortgage intact. There are no upfront fees to find out if you qualify, so call 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210, or visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. That's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Why Are You Gay merch is now available on the website. If you would like to know why Emmanuel Macron is gay, you can certainly find that new merch available on the website. To support our show in general, that is what you can do. You can head to CandaceOwens.com, buy some merch, and we stay independent. We do not go which way the wind is blowing, and we don't have people breathing over us telling us what we have to say. Also, I'd love to get to 100,000 subscribers. Let's see if we can do that this year. I'm setting my New Year's goal late here. We've merged our subscription tiers into one Club Candace tier for $11.99 a month, or you can do $120 for the entire year. The book club is where we go a lot deeper on a lot of these topics because we can, because we are on our website. So there you go. Top comment from the last episode, which was my Dear Erica episode. I did see how viral that went on TikTok, and I do want to thank TikTokers for being objectively hilarious in the comment section with your memes. I don't know what is wrong with TikTokers. You're very funny, but you're bad, and you're the reason Israel's taking over TikTok. I want you to know that it's your fault. Top comment from last episode regarding that episode is, when they planned this, they did not plan on Candace. Yeah, I don't think evil ever plans on goodness or anything that's genuine. And my relationship with Charlie was genuine. I knew who he was and who his faults were. And he was just like a kid brother, that's all I can say, who annoyed me in many ways. And I'm sure I annoyed him in many ways. But he did not deserve that ending. GN2176 writes, Candace, thank you for all that you are doing in this investigation. As I watch this story unfold, it appears that a book is being written about Charlie Kirk's trial leading up to a September 10th execution. Like St. Thomas More, I wonder if Charlie Kirk was also a man for all seasons. I did not know that there was a book that was being written. I'm not shocked about that at all. I'd be interested to learn more about who is writing that book. Jay Nichols writes, I went back to the first post after September 10th and I had forgotten the progression of this journey. Side note, where did you get your cloud shirt? Truth is, the only thing that is undeniable, I wish I knew you personally. We could be best friends, cut from the same cloth. I don't know which cloud shirt you're speaking about. Which cloud shirt? I would assume, the blue sweater. I got that in London. I actually get basically all my clothes from London. I try to buy everything once a year because they have so many cute boutiques and they just have things that I feel like are not available elsewhere. So I got that in London. Jay Nichols writes, I went back to I just read that. Leslie writes, I'm so grateful for you, your resolve and integrity. Thank you for continuing to give us hope that truth and goodness will prevail. I'm curious, have Charlie's parents reached out to you to validate all that you are doing to seek justice for Charlie? No, I have not. And we are still working through some of the tips. I have not received any communication from them. I will tell you that they have always been exceedingly private. Like, I have met them maybe a handful of times in the early Turning Point USA days. I know they went to a couple of events. I've never met his sister. And a lot of people ask about that, whether or not their silence means something. They are obviously genuinely mourning having lost Charlie, and they have always abstained. So that is not new. Nance the Rock writes, thank you, Candace, for your amazing work. Alicia writes, I have been perplexed as to why Erica would so willingly accept the Fed slop and the trust our judicial system narrative regarding Tyler Robinson. It just hit me that, of course, she would accept the narrative as long as they were looking at anyone else and not her or TPUSA. What I will say is, anybody telling you that questioning the people around who have potentially $1 billion motive for the person not to be there is asking you to be an idiot. They're asking you to be the kind of person that looks at 6 million concurrent viewers for a halftime special that only appeared on YouTube and basically told half of the nation F you is just as big as the World Cup. Like, it's ridiculous. And it feels like that's the direction of travel, of wind lately, right? Like that is the direction of travel, that they want us to accept stupidity and to just go, oh, okay, that makes sense. And they can make anybody they want a celebrity because they have power and they have resources and they have PR team. And the next morning they wake up and they just have a bunch of people have Andrew Qlobal on and say, yep, we did it. We broke a world record. We are contending, this is literal, we are contending to break a Guinness Book of World Record. That's what they're doing. If those numbers are to be believed, they're going to be in the Guinness Book of World Records. And what that says is they have no faith in us. They think we are stupid and easily manipulated. And I'm happy that we are at least disproving them of that notion. Schley Walt writes, thank you for finally calling it the Righteous Gemstones. I have been trying to tell everyone. I haven't even watched the show, but I kind of got the vibe of it. I saw something online that was posted. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's that. For sure. This person, Ani, writes, Candace, are you on Upscrolled? Please share your name. No, I'm not. I think someone made an account for me. I know that's like contending with Twitter. That is not the real. It ain't the real Candace O. That's what I'll tell you. Amy O writes, I love that there is a clip of Erica speaking to Megan that confirms your recollection of lights flickering, yet people were calling you a witch. Stay Max. P.S. Thank you for reading comments last week. I stand by saying that you are Charlie's David. Yeah, I saw them. They were trying to like make that fetch. By the way, first and foremost, that's a real condition. I actually want to find it. That is a real thing that people go through. And I don't know why that should shock you. Like, there are all sorts of things, like people who can, they see colors when they hear sounds. I don't know if they consider this to be disorders or what it is. I know Kanye has that. Like people visually, people can hear things that are not the same. And there are a ton of people. I'm going to look this up. Actually, you guys wait right here. Lights flickering near you. I don't know what they call it, a syndrome. It has an official name. Oh, it's called SLI. It's literally called street light interference, which is a phenomenon where people claim that causes street lights to turn off or flicker upon approach, or also known as a medical condition of photosensitive epilepsy seizures that are triggered by flashing and strobing and flickering lights. So I don't know what to say to you. Like Erica's telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. Like, that's just a random thing to make up, that when Charlie ran, street lights went out. It's just real. And if you go into the comments of people on the GATE program, if you go back to our episode where we were discussing the GATE program, yeah, there's a lot of that. So that was strange. I don't know. I didn't say, I don't know. I don't even know what people were trying to construe from that. It's so strange. And then people who were going, oh, you're speaking about the third eye. This is demonic. Couple of things. Yes, Charlie spoke to me about his third eye, and I have that in writing. And for those of you who are saying that that's demonic, I would like to remind you that having a conversation, if you want to call it third eye or pineal glands, you have like people, the government that is trying to poison your pineal glands. That's a fact. If you look at fluoride, all that is very real. But to suggest that someone speaking to someone, by the way, I wasn't even a Catholic in 2018, so that was a weird thing they were trying to like push. I have the messages that he was speaking to me about his third eye, and my guess from what I discerned in the context of that conversation was that sort of a thing, which I think his coach, or I don't know who that guy was that he was working with, is what ultimately actually brought Charlie to the Christian faith. That's the context, and I can show you those messages another time, maybe tomorrow, but he had a bad experience. So there's that as well. So I wasn't entirely clear on why I'm always in trouble for telling you the truth about what Charlie told me, and which I have in writing. Like, I don't know what anybody was getting from that anyway. I was telling the truth. I continue to tell the truth, and no one has been able to disprove me on any notion. But I saw them trying to push that, like, oh, she's like summoning demons or something. I was like, or I'm telling you about a real life conversation that me and Charlie had in 2018. Anyway, you guys, a lot to unpack. Again, if you know anything about this particular Thomas Martin, not the Thomas G. Martin who works up in Buffalo, in New York, but the Thomas Martin that has been working with the Southern Command, please send us an email, more tips at CandaceOwens.com. It would be an interesting dot to connect if so. Anyway, we will see you guys tomorrow.